welcome to my review for this week's episode of Vigilantes, man. An amazing episode, man. Unfortunately, Pop did not end up being Koichi's girlfriend. It was, in fact, Makoto, which obviously I'm a bit disappointed by, but regardless, but this was still a really fun episode, man. I love Pop's outfit in this episode, man. It's so fucking cute, man. I love this outfit. Hopefully, we see this fit one more time later on in the series, or we see a similar fit, because this fit, it was amazing, man. I love this cute outfit she had on. But anyway, one cool thing about this episode that you guys may not have saw is that this episode was actually handled by Studio C. As you guys know, an episode season 6 got outsourced to Studio B, as well as they took over they took over the production for Your Next. But I guess to return the favor, Studio C got an episode of Vigilantes they got worked on, which was this episode. Now, at first I thought it was just like the animation direct, because when the staff had dropped, the initial main staff for this episode had dropped, I saw people be like, oh, they got a bunch of Studio C animation directors, and I thought it was just them. But it looks like, from what tweets I've seen, it looks like it was just a straight up a Studio C episode was this episode, not just that the whole episode was outsourced to Studio C, instead of them just taking their animation directors for this episode. So that's pretty cool that Studio C actually got an episode. I would assume this would have been either right after season 7 had finished fully of production, and they were probably going to have maybe an initial break. I would assume let's say went straight into season 8, or when season 8 was still early on in production, like a pre-production or whatever. And while they were going through that, they had a small team work on this episode of Vigilantes. Whatever the case may be, man, it was pretty cool that actually we got to see Studio C to do an episode of Vigilantes. Now, one other thing I've also got to talk about real quick is the next episode preview, where it seems like we see Knuckle Duster's wife. And seemingly, something had happened with him, perhaps with Hachiska. It looks like we might get some of his origins in the next episode. Hopefully we do, and so I might do a reaction to the next week's episode, ladies and gentlemen. Not gonna lie, because it looks like, because I saw that a little bit of Knuckle Duster in the next episode preview, like, hey yo, that looks interesting, that looks intriguing. We might do a reaction to that episode, man. I don't know, I'm not saying yes just in case because I'm not entirely sure yet, but I think I might do an episode reaction for next week's episode as well. Anyway, guys, without enough jibba-jabba, let's just jump right into the actual episode. Oh, one other thing real quick I wanted to mention before we jump right into the actual episode. As you guys remember in my review for the previous episode, I was talking about what are we pointing Captain Charisma, Captain Charisma, how do I keep wanting to call him Christian? With Captain Celebrity, man, he sounded so good, blah, 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 blah. Well, in the time after that episode, I want to say maybe a day or so after the episode had dropped, we did. It's Sean fucking Schemmel. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the voice of Goku is voicing Captain Celebrity in Vigilantes. Sean appearing in Here Walking in any capacity was not on my 2025 bingo card. I didn't think we would ever see it because it seemed like he doesn't really do much voice acting outside of Goku, man. At least unless you count 4Kids. When I was around, he did a lot of 4Kids shows, because I'm pretty sure that's because back then he was living in New York, so he did pop up a lot for 4Kids shows like Yu-Gi-Oh, TMNT, and whatnot. Nowadays, I'm pretty sure it's just Goku. He just voices Goku. He also did appear in Ultraman Z, I think it was as well, or it might have been whatever. He voices an Ultraman as well, so he pops up in other things here and there, but obviously not that much outside of Goku. But yeah, he's voicing it. So now we got Chris Sapp as All Might and Sean as Captain Celebrity. I hope they meet up now for obvious reasons, because Goku and Vegeta. But yeah, that's cool, man. Honestly, Captain Celebrity might be my favorite role of Sean. I'm being dead serious, man. I love him as Captain Celebrity, man. So yeah. That's cool, man. Anyway, now let's get on to the episode. So we start the episode off right basically right where we left off last week with Koichi's mom and everything. But we see Makoto is coming there, or Makoto, whatever. I don't know, is there correct pronunciation? I've seen so many shows with the name Makoto being pronounced a variety of different ways across many anime series I've watched up. Some say Makoto, some say Makoto, and there's weird variations. I don't know if there's a correct, or both are correct, or there's a correct pronunciation or whatnot. Maybe it's spelled differently with the kanji, that's why it's pronounced differently. Whatever the case may be, you'll probably see me flip-flop, or just call her Makoto. Anyway, so she comes in there, she introduces herself as Koichi's girlfriend. Koichi says, hey, thanks for filling in for this, for doing this real quick. I owe you big time. She says, oh, yes, you do. So obviously she has some nefarious intention with Koichi, obviously. So she introduces herself, be like, oh, I am Koichi's girlfriend. We're in different classes together. And she does all these pleasures for me. Koichi's mom's like, oh my, you're so beautiful. And then she immediately starts beating the shit out of him with her quirk, Fly Swatter. So I guess this chick is just a human Fly Swatter. She basically seemingly has telekinesis or the Force and can just slap someone away from long distances, man. Kind of an OP quirk, definitely funny for guys, but also very oddly specific. It's like one of those like, there's a lot, I've noticed about here a lot. There's a lot of quirks that are like very oddly specific for like a gag or something, man. Which, whatever the case, I mean, it is funny. But like, goddamn, bro, Koichi's mom is. Her mother, her being a mother, man, as a mother, is questionable at best. Now, to be fair, Asian parents are often their own can of worms in terms of like their whole thing from the bits of it that I've seen and you know of them from like other me I've watched, which I won't get into because obviously I am not Asian. I don't think I have the right to speak on such matters as Asian parents or whatnot, man. But I'm sure you guys know the whole thing about the stress they put them under with like academics and what that shit, and you know Japan's high suicide rate and all that jazz. But whatever the case may be, anyway, but like throughout the entire episode, she's either berating him, beating the shit out, or just straight up dissing him. like she's like straight up dissing her son to his face, man. But like literally right here, as she's like beating him with her quirk, but she's like, how dare you lie to your mother? Like how dare you make you think I would? I forget exactly what she said, but it was like something along the lines like there's no way a girl this pretty would ever be into you. Like. Way to show confidence in your son, and obviously give him so I can give it like praise him. I don't know what the word I'm thinking of. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is right now, but you guys get what I mean. But like instead of like positive reinforcements, praising and like complimenting her son, like, hey, you got a girlfriend great on you. She's like, she's too pretty for you. I knew like this is bullshit. No girl this pretty would ever be into you. And I'm like, god damn, bro. Why you gonna do Koichi like that though? I mean, she's not wrong. Koichi is lying, but like, damn. So yeah, Koichi mentions the incident that she instantly saw through while she keeps beating the shit out of him. Once they come back from the OP, Makoto and her mom keep talking for a little bit while, and she's like, and where she does warm up, where she does like the idea about her being her daughter-in-law, and Makoto to, I guess, kind of help out Koichi says that she hasn't ruled out dating him in the future, and she's like, do not lie to me, don't give me pleasant words just to pacify me, or empty promises just to pacify me. So they keep talking, but she's into the idea of to have Makoto as her daughter-in-law. She's like, oh, I'll consider it. They continue talking, and that is when finally Pop Step shows up, man. She introduces herself. She's blushing. Like I said, I fucking love her outfit. It's so fucking cute. I love this outfit that Pop is wearing. And obviously, I was hoping that she would be the one taking over as Koichi's girl, but obviously it was Makoto. But whatever. So she tries to introduce herself. She sees that obviously that his mom and Makoto are there as well. She's like, problem. She tries to ditch. Koichi manages to stop her. Hey, can't get any worse. Might as well stick around and show that I'm popular. So he then tries to introduce Pop Step, but he's like this, and like right when he's about to say Pop Step, she elbows him and says her real name. Kazuto Hariyama is her actual name, which I think is like the first time they mentioned her full name in the actual show. Then he tries to introduce her who she is, man. She's like, oh, she's some girl that just hangs around here, and I'm like, bro, and like just like Pop, I'm like, bro, how can you be this bad at explaining this whole thing? So then his mom is like wondering like, why a neighborhood would even be hanging around here, man. Then Makoto starts pressing her for answers as well. So Koichi's kind of locked in a corner at this point. But then that's when Knuckle Duster shows up, man, and just kind of basically saves Koichi's ass right here. He introduces himself, and then he just starts bullshitting his way through this whole thing, man, saying that he's part of this nonprofit organization that help local governments, and they help youngsters, and they bring in youngsters as volunteers, help whenever they need, which they show shots of like neighborhood watching, like neighborhood paroles, as well as cleaning up the streets. We also found that his name is Kuruiwa. That is Knuckle Duster's full name. And he's in like this nice outfit as well, which given what we see in the next episode preview, I'm pretty sure it's going to explain where he was just now, because it's like right before this, when he was coming inside, Knuckle Duster was like, oh, like damn, you actually look pretty nice. And he's like, yeah, I had somewhere important to be before this. So, and from what we see in the next episode preview, it looks like these two, we'll probably see what he was doing right before he ended up heading to Koichi's place to save his ass. So anyway, he's like continuing to bullshit his way through this whole thing. Then Makoto says like, ooh, and then she starts like feeling up his muscles, which actually another funny thing is once Knuckle Duster comes in, obviously because he is this tall, big motherfucker, man, muscular. Both Koichi's mom and Makoto are instantly smitten with him. Makoto's like, ooh, and then Koichi's mom says, hey, he's obviously too old for you. Better stick to your people your own age. And I'm like, bro, aren't you married? Are you trying to sit with that? You want to try and like make a move on Knuckle Duster? I'm like, damn, bro. Anyway, as she's feeling him up, she says, like, oh, you must have some sort of, like, past. You know, mentioned that he might be a police officer or whatnot, and then says maybe a hero. Da-da-da! She's obviously on to Knuckle Duster. So after she mentions heroes, Koichi's mom is more like, oh, heavens, Makoto, why would you bring up heroes? And then she starts ranting about heroes and all this shit, how it's stupid, you should live a normal civilian life, and I bet they pay more attention to civilians than they neglect their own families, which I swear to God is a line that was written right out of the main series. I want to say Dobby said it, but I'm not entirely sure, but I swear to God that line was used in the anime at some point. I might be wrong though, but I'm pretty sure it was used in the main series. Don't know if it was Dappy specifically or it was another character, but I swear to God someone else had mentioned it. So, and then she goes on about mid-types about Koichi. We get to see another shot of him with the Silver Age on my hoodie, saying like, I am here, and saying he must have gone to Tokyo for his entrance exam, but missed him and fell into a lake. You know, try to say something, this, that, obviously Pop says starts feeling like really guilty about this whole thing, and then she says she doesn't know whether or not to call him reckless or unreliable. And she says, he's neither! She just blurts it out like, my girl! That's right! Stand up for your man! Stand up to the abusive mother! Okay, jokes aside, obviously Koichi's mom cares about him, but like, why she gotta be so violent? Like, obviously, I'm sure it's just done for gags and whatnot, and yes, it is, but it's also like, goddamn, woman. Like, at least with Bakugo, first of all, that's Mitsuri is probably where Bakugo got his personality from. Two, with how Bakugo is, especially at this point in the series, it probably was that she just, that violence was like the only way she thought she could get through to him. So, like, that is understandable why she's, like, slapping Bakugo upside the head and whatnot, man. But, like, with her, I don't know why she feels the need to beat the shit out of her son. But whatever the case may be. But yeah, so then Makoto, and then Pop starts blushing, and then she just like is like silent, and like Makoto's right, like, oh, you got something to say, and then his mom's like, no, I don't get nothing to say, and it keeps going for a bit, and then Makoto's mom just slams on the desk, be like, well, for the love of God, woman, just spit it out already, and then that's when Pop just starts freaking out, and then she starts running, which I gotta say, the storyboarding in this shot is really nice when Koichi's mom slams her fist against the table. I love like those like downward, upward shots. I love those types of shots. So she runs out of Koichi's place downstairs, and then and it's like, oh heavens, I shouldn't be questioning someone so hard that I just met. And Koichi's like, woman, you were just yelling at her. And then she slaps him again and tells him to go running after her. He's like, yeah, what do I say when I catch up? And then Makoto says, well, she obviously took some effort to look pretty today. Compliment her. So Koichi finally meets up with her after she almost slips down the stairs. Koichi managed to catch her. You love to see it. Anyway, she then tells the what? I got someone to be. If you got something to say it now. And then finally we have this really awkward moment where where they like linger on this for so goddamn long. They linger on this shot for so long where he's like rubbing his hand against the back of his head, trying to find the way to compliment her, and Pops is all shifting and everything. She's fidgeting, like, what? If you got something to say, just say it. Then they do like a close-up on Koichi's face. They do some other they do some other insert shots, and as well as a close-up on Pop's hands. They do an even closer close-up shot of Koichi's eyes, panning once again, before he finally says, "You're so casual," and Pop's is like, huh? Her facial expression too, man. I need to know who was the animator for this part of the episode, man, because they did an absolutely phenomenal job. We had this spinning shot around Pop's, and she's like, I look casual, and then she slaps the taste out of his mouth, be like, all this work and all I look is casual. And I'm like, you deserve that. And then Queen's like, it was a compliment. I'm like, bro, you deserve that slap, you fucking dumbass, bro. She clearly took it all this effort to get nice to. The least you could have said she looked pretty. There's something like that. Look cute, look pretty. Fucking something other than casual, my guy. I'm fucking autistic, even I know that. Anyway, so she marches down the stairs, and then we get this nice little montage. But I thought the way this was storyboarded was really nice, where we see a montage of Koichi and Koichi, his mom, and Makoto going on this tour bus, explaining the rest of Narahata, I'm assuming where they're at on this tour bus. We get like these shots in the background of of them like taking photos around the various locations they're going after while the bus is driving on, which I thought was nice. If you guys remember, this was, I don't know if this is the same whoever storyboarded that episode in season 6, but it reminded me of that sequence in that one episode of season 6 when like they did like flashbacks or whatever in Best Genius's car windows, which I thought was a really nice little touch of like doing flashbacks or whatnot, man. I'm not sure if the same animator storyboard that episode storyboard. This episode was a different one, but it definitely kind of reminded me of that one. I thought was a really nice way of a really nice creative way of doing this montage rather than just doing like normal regular still frames. But anyway, they're now in like this shrine area, looks like, and they're like near like the gift shop areas, the various shopping areas. And Koichi, my boy, is chill he's chill like a cucumber. My bro is completely zen, man. And this line didn't make me initially laugh so hard when I first watched because I was like talking over. But when I rewatched the episode again right before I started recording, this absolutely had me dying. This was probably my favorite gag on the episode. Just as long as you're having a nice time. I am Zen. Keep your mind calm and eventually this storm will pass. My father taught me that. So like, obviously he's talking about his mom, which like I said, this had me absolutely howling when I rewatched the episode. I actually heard the full joke, man. This was absolutely hilarious, man. I'm like, damn, bro. I mean, it's probably right, man. It's from the bits we saw in this episode, man, from how Koichi reacted when he first saw his mom in the previous episode, man. Yeah, this is probably an apt description. His father probably has even more experience with this because he's married to the woman. And then we see this sign pop up on screen that says detachment, which was pretty funny. But anyway, they look around the gift shop, man. Koichi obviously finds this exclusive all-night hoodie that says Thunder Gates on it. And Koichi's mom's like, you're not going to waste your money on that thing, and slaps him inside the head again. Seriously, if you guys want to take a shot every time Koichi gets slapped upside the head by his mom. You'll probably end up hammered by the end of the episode. Anyway, so Koichi's looking at me like I said, he's like, I'm just looking. And then Makoto says, hey, it's time for us to get back on the bus. He's like, oh, really? What would I do without you? And then while she's walking off with her mom, Koichi buys a hoodie. I don't know if Makoto knew Koichi wanted and was trying to cover for him, or that just happened, but I don't know. But it's kind of interesting that while they were looking, he got the license. I don't know if Makoto was trying to cover for him so he can get the hoodie or not, but, whatever the case may be, they get back on the bus and they return back to the starting point of the tour as the tour is wrapping up. This is when the cat jumps down on the train and gets injected with Hachisuka's trigger, or the trigger and the bees, or whatever the hell that juice is inside their buzzers. And then she, enhancing the cat's quirk, and ends up taking over the bus, which I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in my review for the previous episode. I would not be surprised if this is meant to be a reference to My Neighbor Totoro with the cat bus. Felt very reminiscent of that. We also got this really cool close-up shot of Hachisuka where we go inside her eye patch. I thought for a second we were actually going to finally see what the fuck was behind it, man, but no luck. It just cuts right back over to the cat, once it goes a little bit deeper in. But anyway, as this is going on, we actually see Knuckle Duster chilling on top of the rooftop of Shonen Jump Plus headquarters, which I thought was a fun little run because obviously this manga was published in Shonen Jump Plus when it was releasing. I believe it was a monthly month. He's like, now that a cat can tell me about Trigger, I'll leave it to the pros. And then sees Koichi's on the bus and he goes and calls Popstep in there to get ready to help him out. Anyway, after jumping to some rooftops, they land back on the floor, and actually Knuckle Duster lands on some wooden planks on top of the sock before he falls down. I don't know if this is meant to be a nod to a Sally's Creek or not, but I do kind of like how they use trash bags or whatnot as ways to break their fall from jumping from huge plates, man. Very much like the League of Fate with the bales and necessity. Like I said, I don't know if it's meant to be a reference or not to those games at all, but I thought that was funny. Anyway, he asked if she got what he needed, which was a duster as well as some painter's tape or masking tape or whatever it was, some tape. And he's like, "What do you need it for?" He's like, "Oh, I'll explain later." He pulls out this random side from the floor. We see the bus is once again just moving, driving absolutely batshit, saying this cat drives his bus like he's playing Crazy Taxi. It's pretty nuts. Anyway, this is when Ingenium shows them in, so it was good to see that we got to see some more Tensei this episode. Eventually catches up to the bus, opens the door open, and tells everyone, hey, he's here, you know, that my staff will get you out of here, etc., etc., etc. Eventually, the van of his staff, like his truck or whatever, comes in there, man, and we start unloading civilians one by one. Well, actually, before we get all that, we see Knuckles like putting like the flag out on like outside, like leaning against like whatever like street corner they're on. It catches the intent of the cat. The cat comes right toward it because it looks like a cat toy, and just like throws it out there, and the cat goes in the opposite direction and away from like the main city or into more isolated streets, which obviously it's a good thing for Ingenium so they can get the civilians out here without causing any more, collateral damage and whatnot. Anyway, eventually this is when the van comes in there, man. They went up and they pick up one of Ingenium's guy by the name of Enigma, I believe his name is, who honestly, dude kind of has a bit of a freaky design, not gonna lie. Low key, definitely kind of have that vibe. Definitely probably someone that was probably like that. People's like, ew, you're gross, whatever. And Ingenium's like, hey, you're good, so I'll bring you to my team, sort of thing. But anyway, he gets them out there, man, one by one, which they actually go in a single file line. This would not happen if this was in America, man. You guys go. If this was in America, everyone would just be like trampling all over each other trying to get off this fucking bus. It would not be this calm and collected if this was done in America. Anyway, while all this is going to see that the cat is actually starting to get a bit sleepy, and because it looks like the cat's starting to fall asleep, so I guess the cat's maybe getting like starting to tire himself out with the insane driving he was doing. But she juices him up with the last bit of trivia that was in that B, and that sends him like flying, like just like going at super fast speeds, knocking against the bus as well to get away from it while the bus continues on driving forward. Ingenium starts to lose speed because he's running out of gas. One of Ingenium's guys said like, hey, we need a mobility core to refuel him. Koichi comes in and says like, I'm the man, blah blah blah, I'm the man who can get the job done, the crawl or whatever he said. And then immediately, Koichi's mom easily sees through this dude's guy, slapping the shit out of him once again, telling him like, why don't you, like, this is the Koichi, don't you dare do that, dude, this is not the time for answers, why don't you know your place? And Koichi actually grows some balls for once. I know my place, it's right in front of him. Puts his mask back on there, grabs the like grapefruit juice, whatever this thing is. It says grapefruit. I don't know if it's actually filled with grapefruit or not. But whatever the case may be, he rushes towards it, and then we get to probably my only major problem I had with the episode, and this has kind of been a continuous thing I've had with Vigilantes, because after Koichi runs up, she says, "My baby." Knuckles shows up there, still in his costume, unmasked. Okay, like I said, this is like the one problem I've had with Vigilantes, my continuous problem. Is like, the show seems to not follow its own fucking rules, where you would think with a show called Vigilantes, and obviously Vigilantes are illegal, they don't have hero licenses, obviously they need to keep their identities a secret. And Knuckles says, hey, you need to keep your identity secret, not let civilians know, yet Koichi never seems to keep his mask fucking on, people see his face all the time, and now Knuckle Duster himself is coming in there in broad daylight to Koichi's mom unmasked. Now, sure, you could make the argument she hasn't seen his costume, so she wouldn't think he's a vigilante and whatnot, but like, it's still bizarre because he's with Pop Step as well, who's masked, who I'm assuming still has her makeup on and everything, man. So, like, I don't understand why he's unmasked. So, like, why couldn't he just do this with the mask on? Like I said, it seems like Vigilante doesn't even follow its own rules about, about secret identities, man. It's bizarre. Anyway, tangent aside, Koichi finally manages to catch up to Tensei, gives him his fuel, and then they're off to Range's top the cat train, which we also get another reused track from the main series that's used here, that My Hero rap track, which I really like. So, Koichi does his thing to try and distract the cat while Tensei tries to get in there. The cat seems to think that Koichi's little All Might hair things are like little cat toys or whatever. So he starts so the cat bus starts charging towards Koichi. Tensei manages to catch up to it enough to hit him with like a kick, which sends it back a little bit, which sends back the cat bus a bit. But it seems like all it did was just piss him off because then he starts driving even faster. As Tensei Tensei is about to overheat, he's trying to wonder what to do next to try and catch up to it. Koichi goes in there and rushes in there to try and grab Makoto himself, which also during this part of the episode, this is when we start to see CGI Koichi once again appearing, for like the overhead shots and whatnot. Once again, the CGI looked great. So Koichi manages to start to close in on the bus, but he's just not fast enough. He's able to, with one final burst, finally manages to catch up to the bus. Gets inside, he says like he's here. Now, for some reason, Koichi loses his mask. I don't know how that happened, but I guess with the speed they were going at, and when he turned inside, the wind might have taken it, I guess. But whatever the case may be, Makoto's like, oh wait, Koichi, you're the crawler. So then the bus falls over the bridge, which is like the whole thing, because I don't think I mentioned this earlier. We're in this expressway highway they're on. The half of the bridge before it got destroyed, probably from the Godzilla attack in the previous episode. So it falls over the edge. Tensei then uses what I'm assuming is like basically his version of Iida's reciprocal burst, basically, which was like the one cut from the episode that's been uploaded on my Soccer Gaming so far. This cut was handled by Mio Nakano, if I'm pronouncing his name right. He was the man behind this cut, which is a really damn good cut, I must say. I really like this one. So he yells out, Koichi, get out of there, I'll catch you. So Koichi uses a sliding glide to slide up the bus and manages to go up there towards Tensei, but he just misses him, man. And then Koichi is able to say, like, no, I forget the line where he says, I forget what exactly he said, but he said, I'll get there, but he said through sheer force of will. I think he said, I'll get there through sheer force of will. And then literally starts with Makoto in his arm, flying towards Tensei and manages to hand over Makoto to Tensei. He gets some narration from his mom. Now, at first, you and probably all of us thought that, oh shit, Koichi had a quirk awakening, which is interesting we saw this in Vigilantes this early, because, like I said, you guys know that Vigilantes was publishing while Hiroaka was publishing for a while. Then obviously it stopped and Hiroaka continued on. I forget where in the timeline when Vigilantes started publishing its manga, but I'm pretty sure when this shower drop was before we saw Toga got her quirk awakening, Uraraka got her quirk awakening, man, and of course Bako as well. So this might have been like the first time, so this could have been at least what I thought the first time we ever saw a quirk awakening in Hiroaka. But it doesn't seem like this was technically a quirk awakening, at least not yet, maybe? I don't know, maybe this, but I would be surprised if we do see Koichi in the instance does have a quirk awakening at some point, where we see that from birth he could fly, because his mom mentioned how before he could even walk he was flying around. She was scared that she was scared that he would fly away, so she'll use her quirk to hit him to get him back down there. So it seems like she just beat the flight right out of Koichi at birth, which is I guess the reason why we don't see Koichi flying until this episode, because he just I guess didn't know he could fly. So Tensei grabs onto Makoto. He has a very simple flaw with that, while Koichi just flops out of the board and flies and rolls around the ground before he finally hits like the pillow thing, whatever airbag thing that got them to slow down Tensei and him. So anyway, after then the bus crashes down, but Hachisuka retrieves her cat, I guess. I'm not sure if this is her personal cat or whatnot, but the cat immediately goes into her arms, so I guess maybe Hachisuka owns a cat, I'm not sure. So, and then we cut to it's now nighttime. Koichi's like, oh, you're always welcome to come back, you stay home, Mom. And she's like, don't say if you don't mean, and slaps him up again. And then she says, hey, and then she tells Knuckles, hey, if you ever need to punch him, go do it. And Knuckles is like, you don't have to tell me, because I'm like, man, bro would do that shit for fucking free. But then she whispers, then she talks to Makoto, says, hey, but this day didn't go the way they were planned, but would you still get my son a chance? Obviously, Pop Step is eyebrow is twitching, her jealousy is coming in right now, and she says, well, it's not a no. So Pop Step is absolutely flabbergasted by this, and we end the episode off with Koichi testing out his new flight prowess he's now gotten on, see how far he can go, and I believe Pop Step says that he can go about 35 centimeters, thinking that he could maybe go 50. And Koichi's kind of wondering how was he able to do it before, but he can now do the whole fly thing like we talked earlier on. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting how farther his quirk evolves. Because like I said, he has flight. What's next? The bro gonna get projectiles next or something? We'll have to wait and see where this goes. But yeah, so it looks like this wasn't technically a quirk awakening for Koichi. It looks like something you already had access to and just forgot. But we'll have to wait and see on that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is where the episode ends. Phenomenal episode, man. Like I said, the next episode preview, it looks like we'll be getting some Knuckle Duster backstory, at least some content about him, maybe around his wife or whatnot, man. So, possible episode reaction for next week as well. And yeah, man, overall, this episode a 9 out of 10, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. You like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me if you feel like it. Links are below. And as always, back for more. See you guys next time.